Yes, we believe we are. All right. The time is now 6:20, and we are reconvening from executive session, and we'll go to agenda item number 4, communications. Mr. Shira?
Thank you, Mr. Walker. I have 2 communications I wanted to share out this evening. First, congratulations to one of our teachers at Warren G. Harding High School, to Hillary Allen. Hillary had taken on a project in conjunction with the Veterans Administration just before the holidays, and I received a nice letter of thanks from them in their Department of Civic Engagement, where through the high school, students and staff members, they gathered 100 large packs of athletic socks for the veterans and sent that over. And it's always nice anytime you can connect with the Veterans Administration and our veterans and our local heroes and doing that. So I'd like to thank Hillary for her initiative and taking on that project, engaging our students and our school community.
Good job.
Yes, thank you.
Congratulations.
Actually, I have 3. The second communication I have this evening is there's likely going to be a story that we're releasing regarding the Pride Cows at Lincoln Elementary School. This is a project that started last year over at Lincoln with a couple of 6-8 guidance counselor and one of the teachers. They're expanding it to the pods so that students in the upper grades are working and mentoring with other students. So we are working on getting that information shared out. So you may see that in the next week or so.
Excellent.
That's also, you might hear a little bit in the presentation tonight at Jefferson. I'm not sure regarding some of the work just getting started regarding Big Brothers, Big Sisters. I think Ms. Washington, that's in 3rd grade, that's going on here in the building as well. And tomorrow, the campus leaders will be meeting with me and Christine Cope from the United Way of Trumbull County. And one of the things on our agenda we're going to talk about is doing some sort of lunchtime mentoring buddies program, see what the principal's thoughts are for our other buildings based upon what we're doing in our current schools. So we are working with some of the mentoring aspects and opportunities for kids in the schools, and it's always great to get community engagement involvement, whether it's from the high school coming down to Jefferson, whether it's the 6-8 kids at Lincoln going downstairs to, or down the hall, depending on the part of the building, or if it's for the community to support. So we're very excited for those opportunities, and thanks to those that are supporting it. And lastly, and sadly, we do have a couple of resolutions of condolence on the board agenda tonight, but I wanted to make mention last week that Mrs. Williams from the high school let me know that just under $500 was collected for the family of Chastity Broadstone, and that information was in process being delivered to the Salvation Army on the family's behalf. So with that, that concludes my communications for this evening.
Thank you, Mr. Shiro. Can I have a motion for the adoption of the agenda?
So moved.
Ms. Cortino, can you please call the roll?
Yes, Mrs. Lamperos?
Yes.
Mrs. Patterson?
Yes.
Mr. Fowley?
Yes.
Mr. Flanagan?
Yes.
Mr. Walker?
Yes, and the motion carries. Treasurer's report, Ms. Cortino?
I just wanted to bring to your attention tonight that we had a monitoring review by the Ohio Department of Education regarding our ESSER dollars, which is all of the federal grant monies that we've received due to the COVID-19 pandemic, and received word today that there were no issues, so it was a clean review.
Awesome.
Yeah, pleased to have had them review the us during the process of spending the monies too, so if there were any issues, we could address them, but happy to see that everything went well with that. And in relation to that, we are wrapping up our audit this month, and so far, so good. All's going well as well.
Excellent. Glad to hear. Agenda item number 7, the superintendent's report. Ms. Lamperos, can you read the first condolence
Yes.
resolution?
Resolution of condolence, Officer Timothy A. Bear Brown. It is recommended the resolution listed below extending the sympathy of the Warren City Board of Education and the Superintendent of Schools to the family, friends, and co-workers of Officer Timothy Bear Brown be approved as submitted. Whereas the death of Officer Timothy Bear Brown has brought sadness to this school district and the many people with whom he worked. And whereas Officer Timothy Bear Brown was an alumni of the district, graduating from Warren Western Reserve High School in 1976. Upon being hired as a Warren City Police officer, he returned to the district, served many years with dedication as a school resource officer, and assisted with the Warren City School DARE program. His positive support of the district's students and staff will not be forgotten. Now therefore be it resolved that Board President Julian Walker, Vice President Patricia Lamperos, Board members Patrick Flanagan Sr., John Fowley, and Regina Patterson, and Superintendent of Schools Chief Executive Officer Steve Shiro express their condolences to the family and many friends, and be it further resolved that this message of sympathy be spread across the minutes of this meeting.
Second.
Thank you for that. Ms. Cortino, can you please call the roll?
Yes. Mrs. Lamperos?
Yes.
Mrs. Patterson?
Yes.
Mr. Flanagan?
Yes.
Mr. Fowley?
Yes.
And Mr. Walker?
Yes. It was a pleasure to be able to know Mr. Officer, Minister, Reverend, Mr. Bear Brown, who would often correct you if you called him Tim. He'd say, Bear is fine. Ms. Patterson, if you would read the next resolution of condolence.
Resolution of condolence for Chastity Broadstone. It is recommended the resolution listed below, extending the sympathy of Warren City Board of Education and the Superintendent of Schools to the family and friends of Chastity Broadstone, be approved as submitted. Whereas the death of Chastity has brought sadness to this school district and the many teachers and students with whom she positively interacted with on a daily basis. Whereas Chastity was a junior at Warren G. Harding High School and participated in the Student Success Program. She impacted many with her smile and laughter and will be greatly missed. Now, therefore, be it resolved that Board President Julian Walker, Vice President Patricia Lamperos, Board members Patrick Flanagan Sr., John Fowley, and Regina Patterson, and Superintendent of Schools Chief Executive Officer Steve Shiro express their condolences to the family and many friends, and be it further resolved that this message of sympathy be spread across the minutes of this meeting.
Second.
Ms. Cortino, can you please call the roll?
Yes. Mrs. Patterson?
Yes.
Mrs. Lamperos?
Yes.
Mr. Flanagan?
Yes.
Mr. Fowley?
Yes.
Mr. Walker?
Yes, and our heart and prayers go out to Chastity's family at this time. The Recreation and Wellness Center, agenda item under number C, under the superintendent's report.
Thank you, Mr. Walker. We're going to have a number of presenters throughout this Recreation and Wellness Center update, but we're going to start with John Lacey, our Executive Director of Business Operations. Mr. Lacey.
I don't know, that's the Jefferson part, maybe.
Good evening. Let me fix that. Okay, you can hear me. When Steve and I had first talked about this, we said this story behind the center that we're looking at, something needed to be told. So Steve said, well, let's go back to where this all started.
I really would love to go.
So, there. So that is a picture from 1935.
We should.
As you can see, right here, that are the brand new stands that still exist today. That concrete was poured in 1935. And as you can kind of see, those were the east side stands. They were the only stands. And the Warren Presidents had a very successful football season. For those that didn't know, their nickname was the Prexies. And I couldn't find a mascot, so I don't know what that means. But as you can see, that's our footprint. The rest of that land there is when Warren, the high school, was part of the Trumbull County Fairgrounds. So then we moved to 1961, where we have a nice brand-new band shell, field house, the newly constructed home stands, and as you can kind of see, Steve kind of pointed this out, and I agree here, that kind of gives it away where those basketball courts slash tennis courts were brand new, which that has certainly looked. And really, our structures have held up very well over time. This is kind of where we are today. Our little high school has evolved into a complex, and one that we are extremely proud of. And with the addition of, we have a new track at that time, a new baseball field, new high school, and new softball field. Our high school has kind of quickly become kind of the center of our community. And this is where we are, especially today. This was from graduation in 2021, I believe. And you can see those visiting stands that were poured in 1935 really look great. But as Mr. Shiro will go on to explain, there have been some changes to those over the years.
So I get to deliver the fun news and the good news in my own kind of humor, those of you guys that know me a little bit as we're doing this. Doesn't the field look great? This is in the midst of COVID. We had graduation. Everyone's socially distanced. We brought in all this stuff. Look at the beautiful visitor side of the stands with all that decor we have over there with We Are Warren. So the mayor's going to touch on the We Are Warren just in a bit. And the seats on the bottom. Doesn't that look beautiful? Well, Mr. Lacey, if you go to the next slide, we're going to show you why we really did that. That's because it was completely falling apart. This was in 2015. This is in the locker rooms. Mrs. Lamperos, I think your son was playing at that time. And I'm sorry, I'm not very stationary. I'm moving too much. But this was in 2015, and this is when the stand started eroding underneath. And we had to start making provisions so that the cement would not come down on the students in the locker room. Since these pictures in 15 or 14 and 15, we went and put fencing, like chain link fencing you'd see in your backyard, so that it would stop any concrete to make sure it wouldn't fall. Well, when that wasn't sufficient enough, then we had to put that metal, like that tin metal roofing in there between the stands so that we could continue to use the locker room. And a couple of years after that, I'd say about 2019, well, around this time, I have to say, I shared with the board, this is where we're at. We're protecting our kids, and we're taking care of everything here. And the next superintendent is going to have a lot of work to do one day when they have to fix this. Well, 9.5 years later, we're at the point that I'm still here, and I'm not the next guy, and it's time to start fixing this. So we closed the locker rooms a few years ago out of an abundance of student safety. No one got hurt. There was no accidents, but it was an accident waiting to happen. The cement stadium exceeded its lifespan. So at that point, we knew when we started having conversation with the board that we would need to put new locker rooms in the near future. And we were budgeting and planning and socking some money away. Then in 2021, the storms took a hit on the band shell and took the roof off the band shell in a couple of areas. The historic band shell, was it 61, I'm sorry, where that was originally put up. And we're at the point that the only way that we could save the band shell, and I know one of our band directors is here, is we had to take the whole roof off for a period of time and decide what we were going to do. Are we going to repair it? Where are we at with it? So now we're into the locker rooms, now we're into the band shell process, and so we kept on moving with that. Both were board priorities, to have locker rooms and to promote the band program and the band shell, keeping the historic respect, which is very important to our community, with our unique band shell, which we are keeping that as we're moving forward. So change continues to happen in the Warren City schools. As we build our schools, one of the results that I want to say we didn't plan for or maybe didn't anticipate was you had 13 elementary schools with playgrounds, 3 middle schools with playgrounds, Monroe, which was Washington, which is still used for soccer today, during the season, and the high school. These are all areas for kids. And then those areas kind of went away back to the design that we have now. At the same time, the studies have come out, and I'm going to ask the mayor to join me and comment accordingly, because the studies that have come out, the Pogemeyer study, 2009, as well as We Are Warren in 2013, had some very telling things that came with it as far as what kids need and what's needed in the city of Warren moving forward in the direction we're going. Mayor Franklin.
Thank you, Steve, and thanks, everyone. I didn't know what I was speaking on, but thanks for letting me know. Yeah. But yes, the We Are Warren study that took place in 2013 was extremely important. It was our strategic plan, but it was really a step-by-step process that helped us move into aligning what the city's goals are, as well as the school's goals are. I always say, in that spirit of We Are Warren, and anybody who's heard me speak has heard me say a million times, as the schools go, so goes the city, and vice versa. So we are Warren, and we are in this together. So I'm glad to be here for this real important today. If I can, you don't mind me taking a little time? Okay. I thought I didn't know what I was speaking, so I want to just acknowledge the board members, DeSalvo Construction, Phillips Architects, Phillips and Secanic Architects, my safety service director, and the council president. That's how important this is to us. We understand as we develop our master plan right now, simultaneously in our park systems, with every park throughout our city, we want to make sure that we're aligning what we do with our park system to align with the vision of Warren City Schools, because it's really truly a community project, and both of these, although they're separate, they actually move simultaneously together to benefit our community. I'm so proud because this is actually history in the making. I guess you'll talk about the investment, big number. I don't get to talk about numbers that big in my job, but this investment really represents a huge investment in human talent in this community. This investment will affect generations to come. It's transformational, it's generational, and we're just glad to be a part of it. And I remember, John and Steve, when we started touring other communities looking at this. I wasn't even mayor yet. I was safety service director. And finally, to see this day is really warms my heart. So I just want the community to know, and particularly our friends from Warren City Schools, the staff, the administrators, the board, that we're 100% aligned with this vision. And we want to be a strategic partner as we move forward with this transformational project. Thanks, Steve.
Thank you, Mayor Franklin. And where we're talking about the alignment with the city and the city schools is specifically what was found in the studies that happened in the early 2000s. You know, when the community was polled, look at some of the information up here. Why aren't kids more active? What are kids doing? That's telling. Number 3, 22% they weren't participating in much of anything in this community. We have an obligation to provide the aspects and opportunities for children here in the city of Warren, as the schools in alignment with our community resources and assets. And this is what is very important and why this transformational project is important. I'm going to turn back over to Mr. Lacey regarding where we are with We Are Warren and where we are with creating spaces for our students.
Thank you. The slide that you see there was kind of a conclusion between two studies, the Pogemeyer study and the We Are Warren study, which actually consisted, the survey that you saw on the previous slide, actually consisted of 600 students that did the survey. And when you think 22% of our students said they did nothing, and you use the math as to how many students we have in the school district, let's round it up a little bit to about 5,000. 22% of that is kind of a scary number. So when you look at number 2 up there, where it says create a central hub of activity, the other thing that I started to notice in looking through all the reports is a lot of the organizations that we were to be dependent on as a community are no longer in existence. So as you can see with the YM, the YW, and when you look at that, Warren Harding was there prominently there to be focused on. So when you look at the bottom, in conclusion, the goal was one where it's centrally located, full-service community center. And that was 2014. So 2020, we have a life-changing event, a worldwide pandemic that takes place. And finally, I think Steve and I and the treasurer sat down and said, maybe now's the time to get this off the ground and to really start moving. So at that time, our vision was now in place, and we felt after over 10 years of looking at things, different studies, different results, different consultants, it was time to start to move. So Steve? At this time, I think we'd like to have Kim Phillips come up, who is our architect. And as you can see on this very first slide, this is kind of where we first started. So you can see here the football field, and this little piece here, which was 14,000 square feet, was kind of where we began. And then it was either Steve or myself asked the question, what would it look like if we put in a 200-meter track? It was probably me. I'll take that. And as you can see here, we didn't quite have enough space to do anything. So I asked Kim to come and give us a few challenges of the designs that we've dealt with here over some time. So Kim?
Yeah, so as you can see, the initial aspect of just the locker room and band shell was rather minuscule relative to the 200-meter track that you see there. We felt it was really difficult for them to run halfway outside and halfway inside, so that was not real good practice. So we moved on to trying to determine whether or not, number one, we could fit a 200-meter track and enclosure building along with the locker facilities for the school between the existing school building on the lower part of the slide and the football field. And we found out, we determined that we could, in what was in this instance more of a single-story type structure, to house that facility. Now, to give you a little context, you can see, although it's not the focus at all of this wellness center in total, to give you context on size, you can see the 3 basketball courts that go inside the 200-meter track. So that kind of gives you a sense as to how big that building ultimately is going to be. And if you've had the opportunity to go by, you can kind of peek through the fence and see really what is now morphed into, if you will. Fast forward, we did some other iterations and some other inclusions. Let me see what it reads, because I can't see. Where we were to, in this instance, we increased to accommodate some added programming outside of athletics and outside of locker facilities to begin to expand on the program to the vision that Steve and John had. It begins to morph up in size as we begin to introduce some more items. We begin to expand vertically. you'll notice bottom right-hand corner, the yellow areas are the areas of expansion. In this iteration, it didn't increase the square footage much, but it did then begin to include the robotics facility in what would be a initial sized version of that. Flip it. We then incorporated a couple of other things. In the centralized yellow space, which incorporates part of the existing high school, we wanted to expand on the robotics program and the golf simulator, golf team, get kids involved in something that they would normally never be exposed to within the confines of the existing school. You'll notice on the right-hand side, it continues to expand based upon a further thought of including outside partners from the community to begin to provide some medical opportunities, medical clinics, both from the student side and the adult side, if you will. So that all becomes 2 stories tall as well and begins to increase the square footage. And then we're now at 125,000 square feet. And John, if you'd like to go to the final iteration. Is there a final iteration? Well, the final iteration, if you would want to back up, is slightly bigger than what you see there. It was not included as a slide. The final number of square footage for the facility as proposed is now about 136,000 square feet. Reason is the clinic people, possible participants, were so excited about it that they requested we expand their space. So I was like, sure. And so we did, so we kept fitting more and more and more space into the available area, and this is the final footprint. Steve?
John, if you'll stay on this slide for a second, and can you laser it? I'm going to go around the bend. So let's start with the quarter where the locker rooms are in the top. So the board commitments outside of the general recreation and wellness center is the need for locker room space up on the top. That's going to relocate the band shell. So John, if you could, the locker room space on top. The band shell is going to go to the corner where the existing soccer boosters were. It's going to be at an angle. It's going to be nice because our kids in football are going to come on the field on the home side now. And they're going to come across down the home sidelines, and the band shell will be in the opposing corner facing our home stands. Not for next season, but it's coming. If you go along the top, the third commitment is the medical component. We have 2 letters of intent from partners that want to come on board and have a centralized location in the city of Warren to offer some degree of medical for our kids and our community. This is huge, it's transformational. Drive around, look for doctors. Okay, central in the city of Warren. It's not there anymore. It's not there. And this is about our kids and our community. So again, the locker rooms, the band shell was a commitment of the board. Advancing with medical and the work we've been doing in a district. Right now, we have a mega grant to provide a nurse practitioner in the Warren City schools, all funded through a grant for the governor's office. Imagine us being able to continue down that way in advancing medical care for children in the city of Warren. Then if you keep going, you have a dedicated space for robotics. That has been a commitment for the board for a number of years. Mr. Faulkner will be so pleased in his retirement from the board that we're still discussing what we're doing for our children in robotics. 25 plus years later, they're going to have a dedicated space. This has been on the board's horizon. I was working on a plan a few years ago. I think I asked Mr. Phillips, what happens if we take off part of the back of Harding by Woodland, take out the 2 floors and rebuild it out for robotics? Pretty much the same cost to build their own dedicated space here, and we would lose classroom space on that side of the building. And this kind of flows with what we're trying to do, trying to get as many points of contact for children here. Also, there's a multi-purpose room that is currently underutilized at Harding. That's going to be repurposed for esports. We create an esports lab over the next year. And some may say, what is esports? It is the fastest growing program for children In the state of Ohio, athletically, it's not a sanctioned sport by Ohio High School Athletic Association, but just last week, the OHSAA just announced they're going to sponsor the tournament for esports this May, because over 250 schools have programs or are pilots. On tonight's agenda, Warren City Schools is hiring their coach and assistant coach. We are one of them, and I got some pictures of our makeshift lab. Not so makeshift, it's beautiful, but it'll go into its own space in that same area by robotics. And then, John, if we could hit the corner, we also want to have a student-run bistro. Those of you guys that have worked with me over the years, we have to teach our students on how to do what we need to do. We need to create the opportunities. Imagine if they could start a business. Imagine they could work on a business plan, be an entrepreneur, build something, create something, budget. How about if they walk away with their ServSafe credentialing while they're still in high school? How about the industry credential graduation seal, Ms. Camberary, in hospitality related management? This community is known for having great hospitality. Why can't we build partnerships here for a student-run coffee shop bistro here at the Recreation Wellness Center? We have all the resources in the world to do it. Those are 6 commitments on this project in addition to the Recreation Wellness Center. These commitments overall constitute alone $10 million in addition to the Recreation Wellness Center. Next slide, Mr. Lacey. So here's where we start going into the financial summary. So the locker room facility, Mr. Lacey? I'll keep rolling from my notes. The locker room facility is just over $2 million. The band shell is estimated to be approximately $750,000, and that is not bid out as part of the project. It is considered as part of the changes that we have from our initial bid out of numbers. We had a couple things that were included, a couple things that we deleted, so we're believing that should be as close to a wash as possible, hopefully saving a little money, as you know me. This is how I save a little money. Medical, this is an area that we're building out on the Laird Avenue side that's almost 11,000 square feet, for which partners want to rent space from us that will have great access to a great facility. So that's going to be the build out cost with money coming in over multi-year leasing that is in plan. Robotics, esports combined is a little more than $2.3 million. The bistro just under $750,000. And the site preparation, this was a little fun. This was the EPA coming to town, and with all of and one of the things that really kind of hit us on this, I'll say, is when we had a real extreme flood a couple years ago, that our neighbors at Inspiring Minds really got wiped out. Harding High School, to my knowledge, isn't the cause of that, but anytime you go and build, everyone's looking for what are you gonna do? So we had to put major underground retention tanks over in the athletic lot by the pool. Like, I can't even tell you how many gallons, but it was insane watching them go in the ground. So that is in addition to the underground tanks that we already have for water retention to mitigate any water flow going further than it has to. So when you're looking at this, this is about $11 to $12 million in board commitments. Again, the site preparation is the entire site preparation for the project that has been completed. But these are the commitments, and I want to congratulate the board for what I believe is very wise decision-making in support of opportunities for children, because these are the kind of things that keep children engaged and motivated in school, whether you're from Jefferson or from Warren G. Harding High School. The vision for this project is that we will use the Recreation and Wellness Center, since so many teachers here from Jefferson are joining us tonight because of the building presentation. Our vision is like the swim program. How do we use a swim program? Let's get children there for the swim program. How can we get children from Jefferson over there? In the project, we have study stairs on 2 floors, like in the college campus. Well, wouldn't it be great, Mrs. Maceros, if you could take your students and do some research in your classroom on reptiles or whatever you're doing, and then go about and bring laptops, and students can continue to do research, or students can start writing their work that they can share with others, or creating a book on the work they're doing. They can go in there, they can do the work, take a few hours, be an alternate learning site, and it's going to be amazing. You can also hop the bus back and forth. Mr. Lacey's committed to try to expand transportation in any way we can, so we can utilize it for academic purposes. When this started, we were talking about items such as a band shell and an indoor running track. This facility has more academics to it than athletics. I would argue that anytime. On the second floor, so there's 2 floors to it. The 200-meter running track in a straightaway, indoor track meets, as well as any other sport is going to be able to practice indoors. Sports like marching band. Mr. Young asked me, he said, so when it gets time change and it's cold in October and it's dark, does that mean? I go, yes. Yes, because you don't use the whole field anyways. I'm looking at our band, one of our band directors. You don't use the whole field anyways. Bring the kids to the rec center. You're gonna save 10 minutes of setup. You're gonna 10 more minutes every morning with the kids indoors in a controlled setting. It's gonna have opportunities on the second floor for different areas and rooms. We've already worked towards a sensory room for families of autistic students, or working with our own autistic students that need a break in the day. And that is part of what we're planning and building out as part of the second floor of the Recreation and Wellness Center. Potentially a yoga studio. Any opportunity that we thought would be a benefit for our students, elementary and high school, we have built it there. On the plans, you see basketball courts across. As Mr. Phillips said, there's equivalent of 3 basketball courts in that inner track area. But I don't want any basketball courts in here because I want the basketball courts in the buildings freed up for basketball and other uses and other sports and activities. Students can use the Recreation and Wellness Center with their student groups. The dreams and the possibilities are endless with this project. I think I've hit so many of the points along the way as far as what we envision with the project, but now we have to get to the Recreation and Wellness Center building as far as the number and the cost. So these add-ons, I believe, are between 11 and 12 million dollars. The total cost for the Recreation and Wellness Center building, which I've just been describing, is $23.5 million. 15.5 of which is funded through federal grant funding, through our ARC dollars. That's too much of an opportunity to pass up. That's money that we received that was meant to be transformational. I don't want to speak on behalf of the city, but I believe this is also part of the funds that's being used to put $6 million into the arts, such as the amphitheater, into our parks and recreation, for students, for adult leagues, and really putting an investment that'll last for the next quarter century and beyond. This is the same kind of transformational project, the Recreation and Wellness Center. I believe in this project to the point that when we say that preschool education is transformational for the 350 children across the Warren City schools that are in our preschool classes, I feel the same way for our students in the Warren City schools, having the opportunity to participate in the events throughout their lives here in Warren City schools and beyond. Mr. Lacey, next slide, please. So a couple reasons why we need this. Here's our robotics kids, practicing robotics everywhere from on the stage, from in a welding or wood shop, even to the spirit shop, where you buy your t-shirts. When they're out of space, that's where they do their robotics work. They'll do it anywhere they can get space. Our students need their robotic space. Yeah. We are, this year, for the first year, building robotics opportunities for children all across the pre-K through 8s. McGuffey has been leading it with Mrs. Colbert and her team, and now we have it expanding to all of our buildings. This is the end game. This is where we're going to move our students so they have the opportunity in the space. We talk about esports. Here's our esport lab. We built it in over by the library at Harding High School for this year. Again, gaming. A little fact of our students, we had 48 hours of sign-ups for esports for our students at the high school. How many students did we have sign up? 150 students signed up in 48 hours to be part of esports. This is where kids are living. This is the work that they're doing. So we need to work with our students and meet them where they are in creating that. And then finally, Mr. Lacey, the last picture is a student-run bistro. These are canned shots. These are not necessarily what we're doing, but we want to create an opportunity for our students to learn how to run a business, to be entrepreneurs, and to build something. And so this is part of the vision of what we're looking for our students. When you think about a high school student, we thought about and entertained for years how many opportunities we could bring them in for what they would have of interest. And we believe we're hitting it. There are areas in the building for exercise, There are areas in the building for a walking track, a 3-lane walking track upstairs, in addition to the 200-meter downstairs. This is just a transformational project. It's an economic development project for folks in the city of Warren. It's already creating jobs, and it is gonna create opportunity for our students and for our community members. So at this time, Mr. DeSalvo, do you have any comments that you'd like to make, or?
I guess on behalf of all the contractors that are working on the project and will be working on the project, we're just thrilled to be a part of it, of this transformational project, to use your words, Mayor. This is gonna impact generations to come in a very positive way and have a ripple effect throughout the whole city, not just with the district, but throughout the whole city and throughout the whole community, and the entire valley for that matter. And it's gonna be a leadership, show a lot of leadership too, because there's not really a facility like this in our whole valley. I mean, there's facilities like this when you go over to Akron and Canton, when you go up to Cleveland, when you go over to Pittsburgh. But, here at home, this is gonna be an amazing facility that the entire community is gonna be really proud of. And we're just thrilled to be a part of it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And I know from talking with Mr. DeSalvo and his children, he knows there's a lot of areas where the kids participate in a lot of events. This is really an outstanding opportunity. We just had Solon Ensemble this weekend. Imagine how the center can support that. We have robotics competitions that we prepare for and host, how we can build and expand upon that. This is just creating one opportunity after another for our students to be engaged in the Warren City Schools. So this is the proposed entrance to the front of the facility. It's gonna be attractive, it's gonna be amazing, it's gonna be hopefully everything to any child in the city of Warren. It's gonna close gaps socio-emotionally, socioeconomically, academically. It is the vision of where we wanna move the district. The city's been making tremendous investments. If it's taking down St. Joe's, if it is buildings and revitalization, if it's the city council's recent commitment with how they're gonna spend ARP dollars. This is where we need to invest in our kids and our community. So I'd like to thank the board. If you have any questions, this would be the time to ask.
I just tell you, Steve, as a parent, as a fifth grader and a freshman, he was extremely excited. But as a person, calls the football games, I'm at every game. I'm coaching basketball, I'm going to the girls and boys games. They talk about breaking a few eggs to make an omelet. I believe overall you guys have done a tremendous job with logistically still keeping everything flowing over at the campus. It's very user-friendly still, and I know that was a big concern from the community, but even through all the construction, you guys have done a great job of keeping things flowing, making it still user-friendly for us that are coming in to enjoy the sports. And thank you for that as well.
Well, thank you. And in my closing summary statement that I'd also like to say, as a taxpayer in the city of Warren, this is fully budgeted for across the board for longevity. We have looked at what it costs. We prepared the district with LED lighting to reduce costs over the last several years. And this is gonna be of no new tax dollars to the taxpayers in the city of Warren. We have been putting money away in permanent improvements to make sure that happens. And we work with the treasurer. We don't want to reduce our bond rating. We have a really good bond rating right now, so we're gonna look at how we maintain that in a professional standpoint. And I know, isn't it great? Well, again, and again, kudos to the city of Warren and the mayor, because when we went to defend our bond rating and do some bond refunding a few years ago, Karen and I went to Chicago, and they asked questions right after GM had closed in Lordstown, and they kind of snickered and said, "So, Superintendent, so why do you think your bond rating should be what it was?" And I said, "Well, in the city of Warren, we have the water. We have the water, and anyone that wants to do anything has to take our water." That was a little close call recently, But I was gonna say, you have the water from the beginning of time, that's where everything grew, and that's where everything flourished, so thank you for protecting our water and our resources in the community. Any questions from the board for any of us, for John, me, Mr. Salvo, Mr. Phillips? We're excited. We're working on some of those details. What we are planning on doing is we are planning on not opening it to the public at first because we want to get our students and our staff acclimated to the facility. But just like when a few years ago, yeah, a soft opening. It's going to be a real soft opening. Oh, no. Look, we're just going to have to meet over there. We're gonna have to come meet over there, and we'll do that. But we are planning on trying to create opportunities where our students and our community can engage together. But our priority is getting this off the ground for our students.
Yes.
And once we get that established on how student use is taking place, and then we're going to be able to open things up. Just like at Harding High School, we used to have it open prior to the pandemic for community members to walk from 5 to 7 p.m. because it's a safe place to walk inside the school. It's warm. We will look at how can we engage our community? How can we engage our community and try to create those points? Our students will always be first as far as how we plan that. But
That's right.
we're working on our thoughts and ideas.
From an academic standpoint, it's sort of like a culinary arts program as well.
Absolutely. That, along with the hospitality, the entrepreneurship, and trying to get our students, so, students that want to go and work. I mean, I met a former graduate that was so excited when she was 29, she got her ServSafe credentialing working at a local restaurant. Imagine if you're 18 and you have it. You're more marketable than the 28-year-old that doesn't. So it's about creating opportunities for our students and getting rid of the barriers. And the kids deserve it. Excellent point.
Yes, they do. Yes, they do.
Well, thank you. Thank you for your time on this presentation. Though I always think that this is a great presentation, the presentation of the schools reporting out on what's going on in the schools is even more important.
This is the big thing.
So at this time, I'd like to turn over to the Jefferson Pre-K through 8 school team under the leadership of Principal Carrie Boyer. Carrie?
Thank you. That was a tough act to follow there a little bit.
Oh, you have the
But
priceless
we're going to talk
pictures.
about being together, just like Mr. Shiro talked about, as we are moving forward with the Wellness and Recreation Center, and how we can be together, because that's a big part of where we are. So I want to welcome everybody back to Jefferson after years of us not having board meetings here in the building. Welcome back. I'm Carrie Boyer. I'm the campus leader and the PK2 principal. I'd like to introduce, this is Stephanie Tamburo. She is the curriculum and instruction liaison that we have here at the building. Mesa Moreland, she's the special ed supervisor. Sonia Washington, she's a 3-5 pod principal. And Mr. Gary Israel, who's the 6-8 pod principal. So I'd just like to talk a little bit about us and welcome you back, obviously, back to the building. So a lot of the things that we talk about here at Jefferson is we always talk about the whole child. So at the beginning of the year, Mr. Shiro challenged us to talk and think about our why. And so as we were thinking about our why and talking about it amongst our team, we really talked about what does this mean for the whole child and why is the whole child important? Well, the whole child is important because we talk about the emotional side of a child, the creative side of a child, the social side, the academic side, as well as the physical side. And that's one of the things here at Jefferson that we really promote with all of the students here. The whole child is unique, and it always brings us success and challenges as a staff, as administrators, as parents, and community members as we are working with each of our children. So each of us is going to talk about one aspect of the whole child. And as you just look at the pictures that we present, here's our why. Looking at the smiles that you have up there and understanding what we do every day and how important it is for us, as well as how important it is for all of the kids that walk through the doors here at Jefferson.
So we are going to discuss a little bit about the emotional side of how we support our students here at the building. Starting with our partnership with Castle, we've been, as a district with Castle, for well over 10 years. Here at our building, we have monthly staff meetings at the beginning of every month to take apart the competencies of SEL. So we meet with our staff and discuss how it looks, what it sounds like. We define it so that staff members understand. So therefore, they're able to translate it to their students in their classroom. We also give our staff members support to be able to do additional things in the classroom concerning our 4 Rs with grades pre-K through 5, and then with second step with our middle school. For our PBIS, we have a team of staff members here at the building that meet monthly. We decide on incentives and how we are able to support staff members who are kind of having some issues in the classrooms, how we can go in and be a support system for them as well. Men of Distinction, I'm going to talk about a little bit later. Our Girls on the Run is a self-empowerment that we have with our girls here at the building for students in grades 5 and 6. Our students are able to participate in a 5K in the spring. I've participated with it with some students pre-COVID. And with our Wellness Center being built, we'll be able to practice that 5K with our girls inside of our Wellness Center instead of during the school year around the building and outside when the weather breaks to get a little sunshine. Our 21st Century program, Ms. Moreland's going to expound on. We also support our students through our SSC. And then recently in the 3-5 pod, we've started doing our Caught in the Act, whereas when we see students doing positive things in the classroom or outside of the classroom, teachers fill out slips and they are posted in the hallway, we laminate them, and then the students are able to take them home at the end of the month and show their parents ways that they are caught in the act of doing a positive thing. And for a lot of our parents, it's that small little something to motivate them to kind of push their kids to keep making those good decision makings during the course of the day.
Okay, so for 21st Century, I believe this is our 11th year doing this at Jefferson and at Willard. Just a little bit about it. It's an after-school program. We run it Monday through Thursday from about 4:15 till 7 o'clock. Actually, the kids were here tonight. We do academics for about an hour and a half, 2 hours, and then we actually have some enrichment activities. Some of the pictures that you see over there, on the right is our yoga sessions that we have once a week. We try to do them. And on the left there is an SEL activity that Compass comes in and takes care of with Miss Warfield. And she comes in once a week. She was actually here tonight and did a team building activity with our children.
Our Men of Distinction program is unique to Jefferson. We have the mantra that it takes a village. So we have mentors who come in from the community, partnership with TCI, some of the correctional officers there and other members of the community who come in and they are mentors to some of our young boys who need a little extra something for them to be successful. Our students and our mentors meet monthly. They come in and do check-ins with the students at various times of the week to kind of sit down just to see how they're doing. They check in with their teachers. They sit down and have conversations with the young men just to kind of get a temperature check of where they are and what they need. Our young men also take field trips with our mentors. Our Wellness Center will also be a great place for them to maybe do a tri-monthly lunch with our mentors, be able to go and sit down and have a conversation out the walls of the building, just to kind of give the boys a different outlook. On a personal note, my husband has become a mentor this year. We lost my mother-in-law back in December of 2021, and a student who he is his mentee lost his mother the day before. They had a connection when I first started becoming a principal here, and the young man was in 5th grade. They kind of just linked together. And now that we are post-COVID, he decided to become his mentor because they share a similar experience. So he meets with him as well. So it is part of that village to come in and kind of support our boys. On the other aspect of the emotional side is taking care of those nonverbal needs of our students. We have partnered greatly with many organizations here at the J. We have been fortunate to be able to partner greatly with many organizations. We have been working with Valley and with PsyCare for an extended period of time. We have a Valley counselor behavior specialist here in the building who supports us. Compass has been in the building for about 6 years since I've been a principal, and they come and do drug prevention programs with grades 3 through 8. And they teach classes, the kids do activities, and they learn about the importance of drug prevention. Alta is now new in the building, but we have a counselor from Alta and a counselor from PsyCare who are housed in the building, and they meet with students and with groups on a daily and weekly basis. Our Akron Children's Grief Counseling, Good Morning, just restarted this year through our counselor, K4 counselor Suzanne Goodyear, and they have monthly counseling sessions with families of students who have lost a loved one. Here at this building, we have an extended amount of grief that our students have gone through over the years. And we realized that it was a great need here for our kids to be able to grieve healthy and to be able to go through the grieving process and still be able to be supported. Akron Children's is here in our building as well. We have a full-time nurse practitioner. We also now have a social worker with Akron Children's, and she works with families, helping them get medication if students need it, if they need other support services. She's glad to reach out and help families in any way. Our homeless liaison, Mr. Gaston, comes in the building and he meets with us as well and helps our families. And then our therapy dogs, that is Cooper, who he also takes a picture every year in the yearbook. He and Sophie are a part of our new therapy dog program, and it has been phenomenal. Yes, sir.
Which one, Cooper or Sophie, is down in the back hallway on the first floor?
It is Cooper.
Okay, Cooper growled at me today when I was walking through the building. It was across from Mrs. Roberts' room. I think Cooper needs either a treat or training. I don't know which.
Maybe, I can't speak on it. However, they have been wonderful with our students. Our students are glad to see them in the morning. They help with some of our friends even some of our preschool friends who had a hard time transitioning. You know, they would follow Cooper to class when they wouldn't follow an adult. And I recently, through the guidance of Ms. Crank, who was Cooper's owner, have purchased a dog who, when he is a little bit older, will be a part of our therapy dog program. Yes, my Louie will also be a part of it. So I am on board 100%. I'm in the training process right now. You all be thoughtful of me because he's 7 months, so it's a different strokes for different folks. But we are very much so looking at the whole child and making sure that our students are well and well-rounded.
So I'm going to talk a little bit about the social part of it. This is mostly talking about like our partnerships that we've created within the building and amongst like our community as well. So a couple things that we're going to talk about is our paired book reading that our 4th grade has come down to our kindergarten classrooms, and they will read books to them. Cub Scouts is also in the building. They're here on Tuesdays. And it's open to 2nd, 3rd, and 4th graders. They're here for about an hour, hour and a half. We're gonna keep on going. This is just a picture of our back to school celebration. This was a really big event for the city of Warren back in August. We're gonna talk a little bit about big brothers and big sisters. Just like Mr. Shiro said, maybe we can kind of go into the wellness center when it opens up, and the high school kids and our 3rd graders can meet up there and do different activities, have lunch with them. Hopefully in April, we're trying to get a field trip intact with them as well. The pumpkin carving, it came back this year after COVID. This is where our kindergartners bring in their families, and we actually have like people from central office come in and help, and different staff members along with the families, and we do pumpkin carving for our little ones. This is always a big event here. Our trunk or treat event. This is our 2nd annual trunk or treat event. We've done this now for 2 years. This is a really big event for us. It's actually bigger than what we thought it would be. This year, we had over 1,200 people show up. We did it in the back lot. We partnered up with the fire department. We also, the mayor was here. I don't know where he's, oh, he must have, the mayor was here. Akron Children's was here. Children's Services was here. The robotics club came as well. Transportation was here. The bus drivers were wonderful. So about 1,200 people showed up. So that was a really big event for Warren City Schools and the city of Warren as well. Hopefully next year it'll be bigger and better. Our Thanksgiving dinner, I think this started back at, was it back at Horace Mann or here that we started this?
Alden.
Okay, I wasn't there at Alden. I remember Horace Mann events. So since Jefferson has been open in 2010, we've always had our Thanksgiving dinner with the staff. We actually partnered up with TCI and they actually served. They volunteered and came and served with us this year. This is a really good event and a nice event for our kids. They love this. KFC, this is our first year that we did this. KFC reached out to us and they have donated 750 dinners to our kindergarten through 8th grade students. Every student got a dinner as they left the building back in November. I think it was over $5,000 donation, and each kid got a carton of milk too. So that was a really nice event. That happened, I believe, on conference night back in November. We also, within the building, have team building activities for our staff that our staff enjoys. We do a sunshine cart. We sometimes have breakfast for them. We have gift raffles, basket raffles. We provide a dinner for conference nights. And then we also do like positive postcards for the staff as well. And of course, this is our parent communication. This year we started something new. It's our S'mores newsletter that Ms. Boyer found for us. It's online. It's really nice. We do our weekly newsletters. We do our parent newsletters. The parents have loved doing this, so you don't have to do paper copies. You just send it to their email, and it's really, really nice. We also do remind messages as well. And I've got to hand it off to Mr. Israel now. Oh, we only have one slide. I think.
All right, I'm going to talk on the cognitive end. So the past several years, we've seen an increase in programs aimed to improve students' ability and think and reason. Teachers have been attending ongoing professional development offered by the district to provide them with the tools necessary for best practices. A couple of those right out of the gate, keys to beginning reading, keys to vocabulary, and keys to comprehension over the last couple of years has been a focal point for staff members and the students, and given them the necessary tools in the classroom to help them with vocabulary. Vocabulary's been a big part of students as we start to look at any type of testing, or so we implement the vocabulary with strategies. That was about a year-long PD, professional development, and this year we've moved on to keys to comprehension as teachers are implementing strategies needed in the classroom for comprehension in students, where they start to understand the reading and the math and language arts part of that. In the lower grades, students are working on concrete thinking, and programs include Haggerty for K2, which emphasizes on phonological awareness. The Wonders programs for 3-5 used to foster reading for all students in grades 3 to 5. Interactive writing is where the teachers and students share their writing together. Teachers have been meeting with math coaches to discuss research-based strategies needed to implement district curriculum. That's really been a positive thing for us as we try to give our staff the needed tools to help our students with instruction in the classroom. The Wall of Fame for K2 students, they get their picture on the wall as they master individual skills. And I haven't heard it been talked about yet, but the book vending machine that Mrs. Boyer kind of put in place, I think that's really a kind of a staple. If you haven't seen it, take a look as you walk out. Students earn tokens in their classrooms, and they can use those tokens to purchase multicultural books right outside here. It's a phenomenal thing we have here. The students are excited to get to it. So they get the little golden token and they get to buy the books, they stick it in there. Students will walk by, how do we get that? Well, you gotta earn it in the classroom and you'll get your token. You can buy or get the book of your choice. We've also done a lot of intervention in the 6-8. We're using data from NWEA testing, OST test scores, and we personalize intervention for each student. Rewards program for reading, Edmentum, and we're using Scholastic. And right now, we're in the middle of finishing that rewards program for our 6-8 students. And it's worked for them. They've met their goals in terms of their NWEA MAP scores, and we're just pushing forward. And it's an exciting part here in Warren City Schools. More importantly, it's exciting at Jefferson that we continue to push that envelope so that our students get the best academic possibility they can.
Excellent.
Okay, and I'm going to talk about some of our creative side of the things that we do here at Jefferson. Our gifted students participate in different hands-on project-based learning to benefit different nonprofit organizations, and it's based on their own ideas. The kids do the research, they write about what they decide that they want to choose. They come up with the flyers, they do service announcements, they budget the money for it. And one of our students right now is doing a coin drop, which she goes around during the day, collects money, and it's going to go towards the Salvation Army, which is going to help one of our students' funerals, actually. So another one of our programs is the SMARTS program, which provides the students with many of the arts opportunities, such as the fine arts, dancing, and drumming. This is utilized through our ESSER dollars to support the needs of all children in areas that they would not normally be able to receive. And our BEATS program is a program that our special needs students enjoy and are able to participate in. And this is another opportunity for us to close that gap with specific students and provide that access and equity for all students. And there's a short little video of one of our students. Our friend JJ. And then on to the spelling bee and the geography bee. Those are a really big highlight for our students here. They're able to showcase their different talents and abilities, and not only for their parents, but for their peers to be able to see, which is a nice feature for our students. Our Challenge 24 team, this is a game where students use 4 different numbers with any operation to make the number 24. And there are different levels of difficulty for them, and it's a way for the students to engage in math and apply the math practices that they learn in school and the strategies that are taught in other areas. And then lastly, I'm going to pull up another slide for us for our, where's our Lego? Here's our Lego League. This is the first year of operation for our Lego League. We have about 10 students that's involved as a part of 21st Century. We partner with different people in the community, and we also have support from the high school robotics team. So it's a great cooperative STEM-based opportunity for our students. And a lot of our creative programs that we have here, we're very excited to see where these will go with our Recreation and Wellness Center as well.
Last but not least is the physical aspect of children. Not only are we taking care of them cognitively and creatively and social emotionally, but if all of those cannot be met without their physical needs being done. And being physical, yes, can be after school dances, They could be the sensory hallway, which we have right out here in the hallway where kids have the opportunity to burn some energy, as well as, in the SSCs where they may need a moment, or like we all do, just to take a break. Even our glow parties, which are fun and exciting, but the physical part of students as well is also their actual physical needs, which is why we have the pantry like all of the buildings do. Students have access to the school pantry throughout the school day. Parents also have access to that if needed. We have not only food, but we also have clothing and shoes as well for those who may need it. We also, as one of the additional pieces that we are in the works of doing right now, we do partner with TCI, Trumbull Correctional Institute, and we are now partnering with them to work on some rehabilitation pieces for one of the residents at TCI that will be providing free haircuts to some of our boys here, which we all know hair is pride in our community, and we really want to start working with them a lot more. We always take, they've always been generous to us. They've done pictures in the hallway. They've provided us with school supplies, with coats, and that type of thing. So now we're giving back as much as possible. I'm going to wrap it up. So on behalf of the Jefferson administrative team and the beautiful, wonderful teachers that are here, thank you so much. We'd like to thank the board members, Mr. Shiro, Ms. Shortino, for allowing us to tell you about our why. Because it is really important for you to see what our why is. There's not a day here at the J where the teachers, administrators, or support staff come thinking of ways to support our kids, from the meals we serve, to the community partnerships and events we have, to just a simple smile in the morning and the act of saying good morning to each child as they enter the door. There is not a day that we don't want the greatest successes for our students, for each student. Each celebration of success makes us one step closer and stronger for the why that we're here. So once again, I thank you. I thank everybody that's here. You're always welcome to come to the J. You can always participate on our Friday dances. We always have PD. We always have PBIS at events here regularly, and we do invite you at any time. Oh, wow. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Okay, that'd be nice. Thank you.
Thank you.
And we did offer you a token that is RY. It's in the J, so you can hang that in the board office every time you have a board meeting or meet with Mr. Shiro. You can always remember why we are all here.
Thank you.
This is nice. Go ahead. You can say something. Thank you so much, Ms. Boyer and everyone for that awesome presentation. Wow, you guys do so much for not just our students but for the community too. So it's nice to see that that it's not just a job, but it's a calling and your heart is in it. So we definitely do appreciate that, and it's interesting that your Y is a J. I just want to say.
If I can make a couple comments, the board, if you guys would like to comment, I just wanted to say, a really nice job to the teachers and administrators presenting, and thank you for the teachers that were here supporting this evening. You guys do a great job, and one of the things that when we're presenting out all of the professional development that you guys have had to push through is a lot. But if you believe in your why, then you have to determine what's the priorities, and you guys have just done so much work in trying. I mean, you always have here at the J, but post-pandemic, with so many other things that have come your way, you guys have done an amazing job. And if you just look at that list on that slide of everything that's come at a teacher, you guys have really, you've really hauled it through. So thank you guys for that. The Meta Distinction Program, I know, I don't want to put anyone on the spot. I know the mayor has been a guest in that program. Mr. Colbert, have you been part of it? You will be, because we just received some grant dollars to expand the program, so you will be very shortly. You guys write that down? And our friend formerly from TCI, I believe you were involved in that program.
Okay.
Long time ago, bringing it in. So much success to our students in seeing individuals that are role models for them, and that really closes a lot of gaps. Again, the teacher support and training. Thanks, Ms. Barrow, for the book vending machine. I'm glad to hear it's being put to good use to motivate students. Mrs. Boyer has had a passion for multicultural text of children, especially here at Jay, but also, from your experiences prior to coming to Warren City Schools. That's very important, and, for leading the charge, across, the building. So again, thank you guys very much. I feel you guys are doing an excellent job, and, I'm very proud of the work that you do here. Glad to see some of the things are still going on many, many, many years later. So, good work.
Excellent. Any comments? Okay. All right. Agenda item number 8, Board of Education Committee reports, athletics.
Mr. Nicholson, it's not your meeting.
All right, good evening, everyone. Winter sports are winding down. We just finished our big swim season. They're heading to sectionals next week. Bowling had their AAC championships at Boardman Lanes yesterday. Girls and boys basketball, the girls have 1 more week, the boys have 2 more. Our indoor track team up at Spire is doing well. I know they can't wait to one day run in that wellness center so that we don't have to drive 60 miles in the wintertime all the way up to Lake Erie. So, esports information meeting, February 1st. It's official. We have a meeting set at Harding. We're looking at about 150 students. Got 2 advisors that are going through board tonight. So it's moving forward, and there's a lot of excited people at Harding about this. Pep rally. We're going to have a pep rally tomorrow to recognize our winter sports athletes. So we'll have the band, we'll have the cheerleaders, we'll have the teams and everybody introducing, the coaches will be introducing our kids. That'll be at approximately 2 o'clock tomorrow. If you're interested, stop by and join us. And the last thing I was going to say was our middle school boys white team, which is the Willard Jefferson group, is playing in the championship game, the 8th grade championship game tonight in Austintown. And I was going to get an update from Mrs. Massaros because she bought a ticket to the game tonight that started at 7. So thank you for her contribution to the AAC. Okay, if you can get an update, I appreciate it. Other than that, things are going well, I believe. And any questions? Thank you.
Finance advisory, Mr. Fowley and Mr. Flanagan?
No report.
No report. Board policies and guidelines?
No report.
Okay. Legislative liaison?
I don't have anything, Mr. Fowley. Do you have anything?
No, other than a lot of reading from Columbus.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. The
And
season of
nothing that I want to
the
report.
season of discontent.
In the state, not in the city.
No, exactly, in the state.
TCTC Board Representative, Ms. Patterson?
Our next meeting is the 9th of February, and I will report at the next Warren City School Board meeting.
Thank you. And I believe, is there any old business? If not, any new business? And I don't believe we have anybody to participate, public participation for items on the agenda. So we will go immediately to page 5, to Treasurer's recommendations. Mr. Flanagan?
Treasurer's recommendation. It is recommended the resolution listed below regarding the December 2022 and January 2023 board minutes be approved as submitted.
Second?
Ms. Corchino, can you please read the roll?
Mr. Flanagan?
Yes.
Mrs. Lamperos?
Yes.
Mr. Fowley?
Yes.
Mrs. Patterson?
Yes.
Mr. Walker?
Yes, the motion has been carried, and I forgot to ask if there are any questions. I'll do it next time. Agenda item number 2, monthly financial statement. Mr. Fowley, if you could please read the,
The monthly financial statement. It is recommended the resolution listed below regarding the December 2020 financial statement and short-term investments made by the treasurer during December 2022, Exhibit A, pages 43 through 44, be approved as submitted.
Second.
are there any points for discussion? If not, Ms. Cortino, if you could please read the roll.
Mr. Fowley?
Yes.
Mrs. Patterson?
Yes.
Mr. Flanagan.
Yes.
Mrs. Lamperos.
Yes.
Mr. Walker.
Yes. Page 8, item number 3, Ms. Lamperos?
2022-23 co-curricular budget and purpose statements. It is recommended the resolution listed below establishing a 2022-23 co-curricular budget and purpose statements be approved as submitted.
Second.
Are there any points for discussion? If not, Ms. Cortina?
Mrs. Lamperos.
Yes.
Mr. Fowley.
Yes.
Mr. Flanagan.
Yes.
Mrs. Patterson.
Yes.
And Mr. Walker.
Yes, the motion carries. Agenda item number 4, page 9, Ms. Patterson.
Approve the application, accept the grant, and approve the grant appropriations. It is recommended the resolution listed below to approve the application, accept the grant, and approve the grant appropriation A be approved as submitted.
Second.
Are there any points for discussion? If not, Ms. Cortina?
Mrs. Patterson.
Yes.
Mrs. Lamperos.
Yes.
Mr. Flanagan.
Yes.
Mr. Fowley.
Yes.
Mr. Walker.
Yes, and the motion carries. Mr. Flanagan, page 10, item number 5.
Revised appropriation budgets. It is recommended the resolution listed below for revised appropriation budgets, A through H, be approved as submitted.
Second.
Are there any points for discussion? If not, Ms. Cortina?
Mr. Flanagan.
Yes.
Mr. Fowley.
Yes.
Mrs. Lamperos.
Yes.
Mrs. Patterson.
Yes.
Mr. Walker.
Yes, and the motion carries. Page 12, item 6, Mr. Fowley. This one seems appropriate.
Oh, yeah. Tax rates. It is recommended the resolution listed below for tax rates for calendar year 2023 be approved as submitted.
Second.
Are there any points for discussion? If not, Ms. Cortina?
Mr. Fowley.
Yes.
Mr. Flanagan.
Yes.
Mrs. Lamperos.
Yes.
Mrs. Patterson.
Yes.
Mr. Walker.
Yes, and the motion carries. Page 13, item 7, Ms. Lamperos.
Transfer of funds. It is recommended the resolution listed below for the transfer of funds be approved as submitted.
Second.
Are there any points for discussion? If not, Ms. Cortina?
Mrs. Lamperos.
Yes.
Mrs. Patterson.
Yes.
Mr. Flanagan.
Yes.
Mr. Valley.
Yes.
Mr. Walker.
Yes, and the motion carries. Page 14, item 1, Ms. Patterson.
The superintendent's recommendations, agreements, contracts, and/or leases. It is recommended that the resolution listed below entering into agreements, contracts, and/or leases, items A through F, be approved as submitted.
Second.
Are there any points for discussion? If not, Ms. Cortina?
Mrs. Patterson.
Yes.
Mr. Flanagan.
Yes.
Mr. Fowley.
Yes.
Mrs. Lamperos.
Yes.
Mr. Walker.
Yes, and the motion carries. I'm sorry, Mr. Flanagan, page 16, item number 2.
2023-2024, membership in the Ohio High School Athletic Association. It is recommended the resolution listed below authorizing 2023 through 2024 membership in the Ohio High School Athletic Association be approved as submitted.
Second.
Are there any points for discussion? If not, Ms. Cortina?
Mr. Flanagan.
Yes.
Mrs. Lamperos.
Yes.
Mr. Fowley.
Yes.
Mrs. Patterson.
Yes.
Mr. Walker.
Yes, and the motion carries. Mr. Fowley, item 17, page 17, item 3.
Real estate purchase agreement between the Board of Education of the Warren City School District and the Western Reserve Port Authority for the sale by the board and the purchase by the Western Reserve Port Authority of the parcels located at 200 Lovelace Southwest and 350 Lovelace Southwest, Warren, Ohio, 44485. It is recommended the resolution listed below, granting the option to purchase real estate between the Board of Education of the Warren City School District and the Western Reserve Port Authority for the sale by the board and the purchase by the Western Reserve Port Authority of the parcels consisting of 38.285 acres located at 200 Lovelace Southwest and 350 Lovelace Southwest, Warren, Ohio, 44485, be approved as submitted.
Second.
Are there any points for discussion? I would just like to bring out that the acreage may change based on updated information later, that 1 acreage difference. Yes, based, yeah, may change. Okay. All right. If there are no other points for discussion, Ms. Corsino, can you please call the roll?
Mr. Fowley?
Yes.
Mrs. Lamperos?
Yes.
Mr. Flanagan?
Yes.
Mrs. Patterson?
Yes.
Mr. Walker?
Yes, and the motion carries. Agenda, page number 19, item number 4, Mrs. Lamperos.
Tuition reimbursement. It is recommended the resolution listed below for tuition reimbursement be approved as submitted.
Second.
Are there any points for discussion? If not, Ms. Cortino?
Mrs. Lamperos?
Yes.
Mrs. Patterson?
Yes.
Mr. Flanagan?
Yes.
Mr. Fowley?
Yes.
Mr. Walker?
Yes, and the motion carries. Page number 20, item 5, yes. Ms. Patterson, please.
Acceptance of gifts. It is recommended the resolution listed below regarding acceptance of gifts be approved as submitted. Our benefactors are HEPA, and it's for Warren City Schools hats, gloves, and scarves. Estimated value $500. From Cafe 422 for the Willard PK through 8 school, gift cards valued at $25. From the Hot Dog Shop, from the Willard, for the Willard pre-K through 8 school, gift cards valued at $25. From Jeannie's Salon and Spa for the Willard pre-K through 8 school, gift cards valued at $25. From Macy's for the Raider Pantry Program, clothing items, estimated value $500. From the River Church for the Raider Pantry Program, a monetary donation valued at $1,000. And from Thomas Steel Strip Corporation for the Raider Pantry Program, a monetary donation valued at $250. Thank you to all of those who are so kind to donate to the Warren City Schools.
Second.
Are there any points for discussion? If not, I want to thank all of our community benefactors. Like we say, every meeting we have persons and organizations and companies that come forward to remember that we are all Warren, and we thank you for that. Ms. Cortino, can you please call the roll?
Yes. Mrs. Patterson?
Yes.
Mr. Fowley?
Yes.
Mr. Flanagan?
Yes.
Mrs. Lamperos?
Yes.
And Mr. Walker?
Yes, and the motion carries. Next, we'll have post-personnel recommendations. It begins at page 22, and that takes us all the way to
41.
Thank you. I was wondering if there was one in between there, but not. It takes us to page 41. Mr. Flanagan, if you could please go ahead with that.
Personnel recommendations. It is recommended the resolution listed below regarding personnel items A through P be approved as submitted.
I second.
There's 2 classified retirements.
Okay, thank you.
Page 34.
Thank you. All right, are there any points for discussion? If not, I want to thank the two persons retiring, Savannah Thomas and Brenda Wolfran, for their service to the district during their time, and we give them best wishes. Ms. Cortino, can you please call the roll?
Yes. Mr. Flanagan?
Yes.
Mrs. Patterson?
Yes.
Mr. Fowley?
Yes.
Mrs. Lamperos?
Abstain.
Mr. Walker?
Yes. All right. I don't believe we have anyone listed for participation at the end of the meeting. All right. And we don't have a need for an executive session.
That's correct.
So therefore, we're going to move to item number 13. Excuse me, no, we're not. We're going to move to item number 14. Can I have a motion for adjournment?
So moved.
Second.
Let the record reflect the time is 7:48 p.m. Ms. Cortino, call the roll.
Mrs. Lamperos?
Yes.
Mr. Fowley?
Yes.
Mr. Flanagan?
Yes.
Mrs. Patterson?
Yes.
Mr. Walker?
Yes. Thank you all for your time. We appreciate you for hanging in there with us. And we're some exciting things going on in the Warren City School District. Good evening.